Let's face it, the Owens women have always created a stir. It began with your ancestor, Maria. She was a witch, the first in our family, and you are the most recent in a long and distinguished line. Tonight we're talking about practical magic, everybody. What a fever dream of a movie. Welcome back, folks, to what week is it? It's only week 2, to week 2 of the Teacup for One 90s Halloween movie marathon, where we are discussing all of the movies that scared us, chilled us, and thrilled us in the 1990s. It is a millennial's dream. I'm wearing a witch hat just for the occasion. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this movie. Yeah, but before we do that, let's see who we have joining us here in the comment section. We've got my cat, Sabrina. Now, I watched this movie last night with my mom, and Sabrina, well, she probably tells the story right here. She loves this movie. She watched it last night. She liked the sound of the Beatles. It is such a trippy, delightful experience to be watching a movie about witches. Then all of a sudden, your black cat just runs into the room, sits, and stares at the screen, absolutely captivated. Captivated. That is what happened. Sabrina loved this movie. I think it was because of the Beetle, or maybe just because she's in the spooky season mood. She knew an impending death was about to happen, so she had to watch it. Who knows? Either way, next up, Eliza, the other cat, is here. She watched the end of the movie. She didn't like it. She's watching the show tonight because Sabrina is here. Woo! Next up, we've got my mom. She watched Practical Magic last night, apparently for the second time. She did not like... Yes, you did watch it for the second time, Mother. You were there the first time when I was scarred for life by this movie. Anyway. AG's here. Watch this movie at the start of the month with your grandma. What you took away from it was the Owens women should be lesbians. It's true. I'll buy into that. They had to have specified men for a reason. It's true. You know what? If they had just gone and married women, the curse wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been affected. Oh, wait. Did they specify men or just love? No, they did specify men. So there you go. There you go. I wonder if that's actually like a prevalent theme in the book. So yeah, apparently this movie is based on a book from 1995 by an author named Alice Hoffman. This film came out in 1998, October 16th. So it's I can't do math. We just passed the somethingth anniversary of this film. It stars Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, Diane Wiest, and Stockard Channing. What an amazing cast, I must say. Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman play sisters. Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing play sisters. There's also kids who are sisters. And all of these sisters are also witches. And also there's a scary Romanian zombie. So that's a thing that happens as well. Let's dive into talking about this movie. We have an all-star lineup tonight for our guests. We're going to start by bringing in, you know her, you love her. It's Jeanette, everybody. Hi, Jeanette.
Hey, hello.
Hello. Jeanette, do you feel like the Owens women were being irresponsible by marrying men knowing about the curse?
Hey, was it marriage or love that made it the problem? Because if you just didn't need to get married, then just don't get married.
That's true. I think it was love, though. Never mind.
Yeah, I think it was love. But were they being irresponsible? No, because you can't help yourself if you fall in love. That's impossible.
It's true. You can't help love. You can't help love.
I'm not a romantic, but I feel like that's a romantic notion.
I buy into that. That wasn't the opening question, though. The opening question for today is going to be, what is the most obscure Halloween costume you've ever worn? I don't know if we touched
obscure.
No, we did favorite.
We did favorite. Yes. Obscure. It wasn't. It was a Halloween costume, I guess, because it was around that time of year. It was for a convention, though. It was kind of like a cosplay, but it was a very specific background character from a Japanese video game that is in very few arcades in the United States, or was at the time when arcades were a thing.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Probably the most obscure.
How many people recognized you?
Quite a few, because it was a convention.
Makes sense.
It's just a bunch of nerds. But around Halloween, no, nobody knew who I was. Like around in the city, no.
No, but you knew.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Let's bring in our next guest, everybody. From the We Like Theme Parks podcast, it's Miriam, the Churro Fun. Miriam, so good to see you again.
Good to see you guys as well.
So excited to talk about this movie with you. I know you've discussed many times in the past how much you love it. So maybe you can sway me, make me less scared of it. But we'll get there.
Yeah. It's not for everyone, but if
Yeah,
you're into witchcraft, I think it's a good one. So
of course. So, Miriam, what is either your favorite or most obscure Halloween costume from your Halloween costumes of past?
most obscure. One year I was a Snickers bar. That feels obscure. My
That's
mom made it. And yeah, I was amongst a group of other candy. So
nice.
it all made sense all together. We were all Halloween candy. But then in college, I was also a bookworm. So I made a book like that sat kind of like a skirt around me. And I was in like, that was my most comfortable as well because I was in green leggings and a t shirt. So
Cool.
Nice.
it was a good time.
Nice. Love that.
I like play on words costumes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was obscure in the fact that I had to explain it to everybody at the party, you know? Like,
I don't know if I've ever done like a pun-based costume. I
Me
wish I
either.
had. Like, have I?
Oh, you know what I just remembered? I did Pink Ladies when I was in like 5th grade. I totally
Cute.
didn't remember that until just now.
Nice.
Super
Nice.
cute.
Thanks for bringing the memories back.
Or oh wait, actually, well, this wasn't really obscure, but once I was the ghost of VHS, and so I was a ghost, and then I had a bunch of VHS tapes that I had chained around me, like I was Marley from Christmas Carol.
That's
And
just
so,
kind of cool looking no matter what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
right, right. It was a Veggie Tales VHS, I believe, that I sat. Like I went to a thrift store, and I was like, out of all these tapes, what is the one that I will not regret massacring? And it was Veggie Tales. And you would be shocked. There is so much tape inside a tiny VHS. I feel like I understand Lady Macbeth when she's like, I had no idea there was so much blood in the old man. It's like, that's how I felt opening up this VHS tape. You don't know how much blood is in a human. You don't know how much tape is in a VHS. There we go. Well, let's bring in someone. I don't know if she's ever had a VHS tape. Morgan, are you old enough to know what a VHS is?
Yes, I had plenty of VHS.
Oh, good. Just checking. Morgan, welcome back. We missed you.
I've missed you guys. I've been a little bit busy, but I'm back.
Welcome back. What have you been up to? Give us a quick update on the Morgan, on the teaching Disney front.
So I am currently getting my master's in educational leadership, and I will be done in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
So that I just took on a lot of responsibility at school. So like I'm like the head of everything now. A lot of things. I'm like the head of PBIS, the head of 6th grade, the head of math, the head of science. Like if there's a honor roll coordinator, if there's a title, I have it.
Head of 6th
Nice.
grade is such a cool title.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kind of. It involves a lot of work.
Yeah, I just feel like
And it involves 6th graders.
I feel
which-
like
yeah.
if I was a 6th
Being in
grader,
charge of one myself.
title.
I feel
Yeah.
you.
Like that's the cool
Yeah.
kid title. It's like you're the coolest of the 6th graders. You're the head of 6th graders.
Yeah. I wish that were true, but I mean, tomorrow is dressed like the kids' day, where we do like the teacher student swap.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, so I'll be posting pictures of that because that's always a good one.
So are you dressing as a specific student or just like the idea of a kid?
Last year I did a specific kid and I shamed him into wearing a belt.
Good.
And this year I think I might also do a specific kid, but like she has asked me to go as her, so I was like, okay, I'll go as you. But I don't know if I can do my hair like theirs. It's gonna take like 2 or 3 hours to do my hair if I do it.
Worth
like
it. Worth it.
These
Do it.
girls, they're doing a lot in 6th grade, huh?
Oh yeah. With the
Jeez.
baby hairs and the gel and the.
What does that even
Wow.
look like?
I mean, like they're Hispanic mostly, so they have like really curly hair.
Okay.
So it's like they have to like lay it flat and it has to be like slicked.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Yeah.
effort. This is why I just wear hats.
Yes, I literally just get up and brush
Smart.
my scalp.
Always wear a hat. Always wear a hat. All right. Well, we have some more guests, except I believe they are running late. So let's start talking about practical magic, and then we will bring in the rest of our coven as they arrive. Here we go. Now, was this anyone's first time watching the movie? Jeanette.
Wow.
Exciting.
Wow.
Well, I'm excited to hear your opening thoughts, but I'm going to go first because I like to talk about how much this movie traumatized me. So, this for my entire life, since it came out at least, has been burned into my brain as the scariest movie I had ever seen. Because I saw this in theaters when it came out. I would have been 11, and it disturbed me so much. And it was the first and really only time. I think it's because of this movie I don't go see movies in theaters that I think might scare me, because the claustrophobic sense of here I am in this dark space with this image that's not like disturbing me so much and I can't escape, that was just too much for little 11-year-old Matt. But yeah, my mom and I seem to have slightly differing memories as to how I ended up in that theater with her. She was there. She brought me to see it. And I think we went because it was like in the spirit of the season, because this movie did come out in October. I was really into Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the TV show, as everyone should have been who was watching TV at that time, because it is just a pinnacle of television plus talking cat. And I didn't go back and like watch the trailers for Practical Magic, but I suspect it was kind of advertised to be like a Sabrina-esque movie. You have similar elements. You have magical ants. You have like young women doing magic, and it's the 90s. It was like, okay, sure. I like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I think they probably wore pointy hats and at least one of the posters or whatever. Yeah, let's go see this movie. And there was less witchcraft fun and more possession and domestic abuse and things that I just didn't care to see. So there we go. Okay, my mom claims I begged her to take me to see it, and I said it was like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't remember either way, but sure, one of those things might be true. Either way, we ended up seeing it, and we did not leave. And when it got to the last scene where Nicole Kidman was possessed, I was done. I was like probably quivering and the whole time. And anyway, yeah, I have been too scared to rewatch this movie until last night. So that's my history with this film. There we go.
Did you know this film is rated PG-13?
That sounds right. Well,
Yeah,
in the
right.
States, in Canada, it's probably rated PG because we're a lot more lax with our ratings here. Morgan, how'd you discover this movie? Was it similar? You said you were 12.
Yes, I was 12. I think maybe I was younger. I don't really know. I was just like chilling on my couch watching movies on like, I think it was a Sunday or a Saturday. And it just was the next thing that was coming on, and I read like the description and was like, oh, Sandra Bullock, like love her in Miss Congeniality, like should be a great movie. And I was obsessed with Charmed at the time. So I was like, yeah, it should be fine. And I was terrified.
Good.
Y'all are so funny.
Yeah, and it was like, it wasn't even October. It was not. It was like the middle of like probably April, as far removed from October as you could get. And it just came on, and I was just like, oh yeah. I think
Probably
was,
inspired by
like,
Sandra Bullock's beautiful sundresses.
Probably.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, maybe it's like Halloween Town, and I was like, it's rated PG-13, so it shouldn't be that bad.
Like an amped up Halloween Town.
Kind of. Yeah. Miriam, how did you discover this movie?
I was probably 12 or 13 when it came out, and
Did you see it in theaters too?
No, I think I don't remember seeing it in the theater. I feel like I saw it at home. But I remember always wanting to see it. And to me, I didn't think Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I definitely thought Hocus Pocus. It's giving more of that vibe to me. And Hocus Pocus has some scary parts. Like, it's not all like sunshine and rainbows and
no
whatever.
possession, no demonic possession.
I mean, kinda. Like, I think eating children is pretty rough. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's similar in vibe. Maybe you just weren't prepared for it. But I had the exact opposite experience, even with the scary parts. Like, scary parts did scare me because I was 12. But I was like, this is my whole personality, and I love everything about this. And it's still true today. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, I'm sorry, it does not get better. When I was young, like, of course, I loved Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. They were my, like, absolute icons. The hair in this movie, it doesn't get better than this, people. I could stare at Nicole Kidman's haircut in this and never be able to figure it out.
It is my favorite of her hair.
It's so good. And Sandra's too. And there's that midnight margarita scene when they're both in braids. I'm like, yes, even like casual, not done hair on them is so good in this. Nicole Kidman's bangs in this, I could do a dissertation paper about. They're so
She makes
good.
bangs work. She makes
This
bangs.
also brought about one of my favorite styles, which I will call whimsigoth. Where it's like it's gothic,
All
but
that
it's
crushed velvet with the sundresses, and you can wear the
and
boots
maybe not
with
as
the
many dark
sundresses.
colors, but I feel like it's goth adjacent. So it's whimsical, but it's goth. It's all of the above.
Romantic-y.
Yes. That house. Give me that house right now. I need it. I want it to be real. I want to live in it. The greenhouse attached to the kitchen. Forget it. This is the most dreamy. And Sandra Bullock's shop. I think about this shop constantly. All the like perfect bottles in there. I need to know what every single one of them is.
It's so late 90s too.
But it's
like,
so good. It still stands
that-
the test of time.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
so
I know. It's
And,
The shop reminded me of David's Apothecary in
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek, if anyone's seen it. It had
Yes,
very
I guarantee he was like, I'm going for the practical magic apothecary is what he did for that. But yeah, like I was saying, I was obviously obsessed with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman when I was young, but now as an older lady, and I loved Stockard Channing and Diane Weiss, but now as a woman of a certain age, I'm like, they are the goal. That is what I want to be, is those two. And it's great. And I will get into some witch lore as we begin to talk about this, but the way this is structured is perfect. So I will talk about it when we get there.
exciting. Yeah, I am excited to dive into the witchiness of this movie because I think it's a very interesting witch movie. Very interesting, which I can appreciate, I think, a bit now that I'm less scared of it. Not scared, less scared. Jeanette, as a first timer, what are your first impressions of practical magic? Is it practically magical?
So I think maybe I fall somewhere in the middle. I'm not like freaking out about how good it, but like it was really good. Like I really liked it. It doesn't scare me at all. I thought that the scary parts were actually the most like kind of ridiculous. I was like, okay, this is getting a little silly, but it was like fine. But that could also be influenced by the special effects. I don't know. Like it was 1998.
Yeah, 1988.
So I mean,
but honestly, they look pretty good for 1998.
That's what I'm saying. They looked really good. So I don't think that was it. I think I just thought that it was a little. Those parts were a little hokey, but I enjoyed the overall story, the plot. I liked the intensity of the fact that they made it a little real world with like the kind of the domestic situation going on that kind of brought it down to earth a little bit. Yeah, I liked it. I would rewatch this. The reason that I had not watched it originally because many of my friends had at that age, of course. And I thought it was like, oh, I thought that was a fire alarm. Sorry. I was like, I thought it was going to be like The Craft for sweet girls or like Girly Girl, The Craft. And I was like, it's not, and it, to a degree, I was right, but not in a way that I didn't like. I liked the ways that it was like that. So, in a way, I felt vindicated in that, but also I was like, it's not bad though.
But I'll challenge you that I don't think it's necessarily Girly Girls The Craft. I think this is a family of witches who know how to teach each other so they don't have to go through the growing pains of learning with random friends at school and doing crazy crap. So, like, I don't know that it's necessarily like the Girly Girl version. It's just the more like mature and refined.
It's
like
more
we learned at home and not randomly at school and doing crazy bad things to people, you know?
I think I saw the ads, and the ads play up the whole like romance situation. And I was like, oh, this whole movie's just gonna be there's a bunch of love story. And so I didn't watch it. And then I'm like, okay, no, there's love story in it because you have to make this plot go, but it works. It's not like egregious. A lot of things coming out at this time were like egregiously, overbearingly romantic, and I think that could push me away from this. And it's not overbearing at all. I liked it. I'll watch it again next year.
Nice. I will say there was a scene towards the beginning when Sandra Bullock like went out to find the guy that eventually fathered her kids, and then they played, I can't remember what song it was. It was just a very 90s moment.
This Kiss.
Yes, this kiss.
Faith Hill.
Yeah.
I feel like she was wearing.
Don't
like,
worry, we're going to talk about the soundtrack too. Don't
oh, yeah,
worry.
let's do it. It felt that moment to me. It was just such a like moment of, oh my gosh, is this whole movie going to be this cheesy? Why was I scared of this? And then it wasn't, and I respected that. And it was in some ways as scary as I remembered. So it also made me feel better about my young self. Which brings us into, how do we think it holds up? For those of us who have a history with this film, what was it like revisiting it? Or in the case of Miriam, I guess we'll start with you, Miriam. How has it been for you just watching it over the years? How has it changed or evolved for you? You kind of touched on it about how you're just like, now they are what you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I started watching this when I was like about the age of the little girls in the movie, and I'm like, oh, how cool would it be to like get to be around all those witches? And then when I was older, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely Nicole Kidman. I'm not. I'm somewhere in between those two. Not quite as reckless as that, but not as responsible as Sally. And yeah, now I just want to like wear big sun hats and lots of clothes and garden and like have a whimsical house that doesn't make sense, you know. That's it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it holds up for me. I watch it all the time, not just during Halloween time, and I love this movie. So
Nice.
holds up.
Morgan, how was it for you revisiting this film?
I am still just as scared of it. I cannot get past the demonizing possession part. It's just it just doesn't do well. And then also just the actual like the physical abuse side of it, I don't like it at all. I mean, I know it happens, but like that, it's very real when you see it on screen.
Yeah, I think I had pretty well the exact same experience as you, Morgan. Like when it got to the scene when Sandra Bullock, whatever her pretend name is, Sally. Yeah, we got to the scene when Sally had to go rescue Nicole Kidman at the motel, and then the guy Billy. Is it Billy? Is that the zombie's name?
Angelo.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, or Jimmy.
Or
Billy.
They
Jimmy.
call him Angelo mostly. It's his last name.
Oh, Billy is Hocus Pocus zombie. There's so many zombies. Yeah, anyway, when I got to that scene, that was actually probably the most viscerally uncomfortable I was at, like on my rewatch. Just yeah, for a movie in the 90s, it was a lot more violent, I think, than I expected it to be. Even though it wasn't violent in the way of they didn't show a lot, but just the way that the tension was built and what they did show. Yeah, it made me really uncomfortable. And I understand narratively why that had to happen. Still didn't enjoy watching it. And yeah, the possession scene when we saw like the ghost version of him, I thought, oh, this is corny. The exorcism scene can't be as bad as I thought it was, and it was. It still made me really uncomfortable. So there it is. But now that I'm older and cannot and am not as distracted by being traumatized by those two specific moments, I do think there is stuff to appreciate in the movie. I feel like it's weirdly disjointed in terms of what type of movie it is, and normally that would bother me, but it doesn't really. I feel like it's pretty decently balanced between all the different types of genres that it flirts with, like some supernatural stuff, some crime drama, some romantic, well, I don't want to say romantic comedy, but some romantic drama, as it were. So yeah, there's something interesting there. The magic I find interesting because I feel like they were more magical than I thought they were going to be. I thought this was going to be a movie where they're just more like spiritual and into the idea and the practices of witchcraft, which granted, I don't know too much about that in a real world setting, but I didn't expect them to actually have literal magic, like for Sandra Bullock to have a coffee cup with a self-stirring spoon, for example, or necromancy, you know? Yeah, it was a lot more legit magic than I thought it was, but at the same time, I felt like it didn't go super, I don't want to say it didn't go far with it, but it didn't feel as whimsical and magical as, say, something like Halloween Town, or I haven't seen Witches of Eastwick, but I feel like that's a lot more overtly in-your-face magical.
Witches of Eastwick will blow your hat off, my guy.
Oh, I probably will never see it. I think that will.
Yeah, it's if you can't handle this one.
Yeah.
Don't even do it.
No,
Don't do it.
No.
Not for you, Matt Yipchuk.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into the witchiness and the magic of it all. But before we do that, we have another guest joining us. Are you ready? I can see you. Not if you're ready. Yeah, you're ready. Okay, here we go. It's Vince, everybody. Look, everyone.
Yo, what's happening, everyone?
Hey.
Vince, welcome to Practical Magic Night.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. How's everyone doing?
We're doing.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, it's all.
I was
good.
having technical difficulties.
It's all good. It's all good. We're happy you're here. So, Vince, Practical
Yes.
Magic Night. Just to give you a quick recap, Morgan and I were scarred by this movie when we were young, like around 11 or 12, and we haven't really shaken that. Miriam is a lifelong fan of this film, loves it. Jeanette watched it for the first time and I think enjoyed it. And
Yes.
that kind of catches you up. But Vince, tell us about you in this movie. Was this your first time watching Practical Magic?
Yeah, I've never heard of this movie before, and I signed up for it because, it sounded all right. Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock. I liked Gravity, and I didn't.
You
hate-
did?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, I actually really liked Gravity. When I first saw it in the theaters, I'm like, wow, it feels like I'm in space. Sandra Bullock, she's great. Miss Congeniality, what a wonderful film.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah, I didn't love this movie, but you know what? It's okay because I see why people do. You know, I was kind of reminded of Halloween Town. You know, it's not a good movie, but I love it. So it's okay. It's Halloween, baby.
You
We can
both
watch
agreed
movies.
with and offended Morgan at the
Yes.
same time. You said exactly what she said, but then you broke her
Halloween
heart.
Town is my favorite Halloween movie.
I love it. I saw it the other day with Lisa, and we had a great time. But at the same time, I'm like, oh wow, what a product of its time. You know, I'm a little harsh in saying it's not great because it is great in its own way. Halloween, I love it.
So were you scared at all, Vince? Like I still am of this movie?
I have no idea how you guys were scared. Was it during
Right?
was it the Serbian Benicio del Toro character?
Yes. Whereas like when he's alive, he's abusive, didn't love the scene in the car, and then when he's dead, he
No.
possesses Nicole Kidman. And then
Yeah.
they have a circle, an exorcism circle. It's scary.
Yeah, I don't know. I've consumed media that's done it scarier, so I guess
Oh, I haven't.
fair enough. You know, I guess this is a good dabble into the world of dark occult cinema. You know, I don't know. I thought it was okay, but I could have I would have been cool with a little bit more of the dark magic stuff. You know, there was so little of it, and I thought that was some of the best the film had to offer.
All right. Well, actually, that's a good transition because I wanted to talk a bit more about how this movie uses and portrays magic. And one of the things that I struggle with as to whether I think it makes the movie good or not good is, yeah, I feel like it's simultaneously not magical enough and too magical. Is it magical realism? Is it full fantasy? Is it not? Why are all these people just so accepting of legit witches in their community? And like, I get that they're not, they have a chant, but I think to that scene when like her coworker says, oh yeah, they're witches, but they're not evil. It's like, this is just so normal in this world for people. Why? I'm so confused. Like, why hasn't the government confiscated these women to work for the government? If that's the case, like if
That's
we know
a very good point.
Because we're not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's
Yeah.
why.
I don't know. I think the way I think about this is this sort of sets up like there's probably witches all over the country that are living just like this. So maybe it's just not that weird that it's concentrated in one family in one town. I don't know. Feels a little bit magical realism to me. And I think we're to believe that this is a family of witches, but that there are more than that, just them. So
Yeah. She even says, Diane Weiss says that every woman has some witch in them in the movie.
and
So-
they were going to that, whatever that solstice celebration
Yeah,
that
so
led
there's-
me to believe
they know
that's a
other-
convention of witches. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like those things exist in our reality, but if I were to go to that, I wouldn't assume that the people there are casually like necromancing. And
Yeah.
Well,
you would be wrong.
And the ants really tell them not to do it ever, and they did it anyway. So I don't think that any witch is casual necromancing.
And
They're
I think the
doing
ones
it
that
to
are
get out of murder
necromancing-
charges.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to conventions. I don't think those are the
No.
kind that are going
No.
to the convention.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
the casual ones, no. Mm-mm.
But Miriam, you said you wanted to get into a little bit more of the witch portrayal overall. I'd love to hear your
Yes,
thoughts.
so we're getting into this a little bit with Agatha all along, but with witches, there is the what is it? There is a goddess, and she is represented by the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And you have that in this movie. It is literally within our characters here. So the maiden are the two children in this movie, and then the mother would be Jillian and Sally, and then the crones. I hate that word, but they are the elder witch Whitman in this. So it is literally playing out witch lore and foundation within this movie. And I think that's not really, if you're not familiar with it, maybe you don't pick up on it as much, but it's really beautiful to see all three really focused on. And a lot of the time in these stories, it's mostly focused on the maiden, because the maiden is like all the way up until motherhood. Mm-hmm. And I like that this story is focusing on the mother mostly. And you don't get that often in a witch movie. So
the other
the
thing that
structure of it is also like, I think a witch worked on this movie, and that also plays out within the soundtrack. Who do they have on it? Stevie Nicks, like 3 times.
Is
like,
Stevie Nicks a witch or within the witch culture?
100%.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that Chalker or Channing, you know, that they aren't either. That Diane Weiss and her are not witches. They are. Stalker Channing is a witch. Like, sorry, this was proven to me in this film. I don't think she's she's a good actress. I don't know if she's acting in this one. This feels like her real personality to me.
I mean, I've seen Diane Weiss play a witch more than once, like outside of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it.
Yeah. The other thing I like that they portray in this is the idea of that there's no good, there's just energy. There's not good energy or bad energy. It's energy. And that you can't, like, the whole law again of like, you can't put out anything that you don't get something back from, which was another thing that I think they may have mentioned in the ads. And I think was the thing I thought made me think of The Craft, but it's just a standard thing that you will see if they're paying any attention at all to that sort of lore.
Yeah.
So to employ it is nice. And they didn't make a huge deal about it like they do in The Craft. Like they didn't like say the rule over and over again. They're just like,
you get it back times 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Like that you did it, and then this is what's happening because of it. And you don't question that because it's obviously some sort of law of like physics. It's like witch physics. You know?
And another like witchcraft thing is healing generational trauma, and that's what this movie is about. You have the first witch, Owen's witch, putting a curse on her own family to never like be able to stay in love. Basically, either the person will die or you get a Jillian situation, or who knows how that's playing out. But they literally break that curse within this. And that's part of witchcraft, is like healing generational trauma. And they literally do that. They even show when that burst of energy happens, like their ancestor, like literally being lifted from her own curse. So it's pretty beautiful.
That would happen during the exorcism scene. My eyes were closed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I had to be in the other room during that scene. I couldn't say.
I mean, yeah, the burst of light softened it a little bit, but everything before that, like just creepy Nicole Kidman, no, couldn't do it. It's so weird. In my memory of this movie, I was convinced that the boyfriend got possessed by Jimmy and that the exorcism was on him. Maybe I think of a different movie. I must be.
Yeah, no, it's always been.
Oh yeah, it's always been Nicole. It's always been Nicole. Yeah. So how do we feel then? How does this movie hold up to other witch movies? Like, what makes it stand apart, either successfully or not successfully? I guess a bigger question is like, what makes a good witch movie? Like for me, a good witch movie is something like Hocus Pocus, but I feel like that's not very tied into legit witchcraft very well.
Well, I think there's parts of it that are. I wouldn't go that far. I'll let someone else answer.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about Halloween Town because
There you go,
I
perfect.
love Halloween Town, and you know what? Halloween Town picked a side, and it knew what it was, and I don't think this movie did, because Halloween Town, it knows it's like a cute little film about Debbie Reynolds and her family, and and the bloodline of Debbie Reynolds and whatnot. Anyway, look, this film, it felt like I'm not the target audience, I guess, because I don't know. I wish it felt like flip floppy, and I can't really explain it. And I feel
It felt like it was
I
a
wish I
romantic
could.
movie, and then it
Yeah.
felt like it was a scary movie, and then it felt like
Mhm.
it was about a domestic problem. Yeah, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I felt like it made the movie complex
I
instead
wish.
of confusing, because I felt like it actually stayed on course with the plot and the story, which
Mhm.
I know, yeah, some movies do that, where they kind of
Mhm.
genre bend and all that, but they just feel like they're zooming in and out of things. But it
Yeah.
did, I see what you're saying. It did feel genre wise like it was kind of
I think
little
because it's also
Absolutely.
adapted from a book that maybe they didn't fully. Here's the problem: it's the second of 3 books, so they also didn't adapt the full series. So
Wait, it's the second?
it's a second.
Why
So
would
the
they
first one,
make the movie?
because the first one starts with the first Owens woman who puts the curse on the family, and then the second one is this story, and then the third one would have
Oh.
wrapped it up better. But I think
So-
because they were kind of picking and choosing where they're starting and where they're finishing, maybe that feels why it's disjointed.
So they condensed the first book into the first 5 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh no! I you know what? I would have loved to see a more fleshed out first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, if they stretch that into like half an hour, that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
guess you can't do that. Give me flashbacks. I don't know.
Yeah.
well,
so-
this was the day and age when people were still shocked that James Cameron had made a 3-hour film. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get this thing to
Yes.
90 minutes. I think 2.5
Yeah.
hours, we could have gotten a little more of an in-depth story, but 90
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah, I think the opening, like, it's funny that you mentioned that. I do feel, yeah, if it had been a nice half hour or something, then maybe it would have felt less disjointed in terms of world building
Yeah.
from my end, because I think the opening sequence it didn't give me enough of a sense of how witchcraft operates in this universe, because I just went into it thinking this was like a Crucible situation, like here's just a woman who's been ostracized, not actually a witch. Community's going to hang her because she's different, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, there is actual magic, and also we're not going to tell you much about it, just accept it. I'm like, no, I want no more. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
Like
Matt,
why,
I get.
like what you brought up earlier, like why are the neighbors just cool with this?
Mhm.
Like if that were my neighbor, I'd be like, whoa, no, I'm moving.
Right?
well, I don't think
Yeah.
they're cool with it. They throw stuff at them and
Well, that's
like
true.
chant them down in the street in the 90s. I'm like, who does that in the 90s? Who's like chanting at somebody in the street? That's
Oh,
weird.
it's a community tradition. Every community has something. You know, for me,
Yeah.
it's the Bread and Honey Festival. Every like first weekend in June, people get together, they eat bread and honey. In this little sleepy riverside community, they chant "Witch, witch, you're a bitch" at all the kids. So,
Wow.
you know, there it
That
is.
the Honey Festival sounds pretty awesome.
Bread and Honey Festival is amazing. I love the bread. And Honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
bet.
speaking of the Bread and Honey Festival, let's bring in the only other Mississauga person. It's Lisa. Lisa, have you been to the Bread and Honey Festival?
I sure have, and I
Good,
have
yeah.
this conspiracy theory about the Bread and Honey Festival.
Honey Festival. What is it?
It's a separatist movement for the people of Streetsville to be separate from the rest of Mississauga.
Oh.
Deal. and because Mayor Hazel was the one that like settled in Streetsville, and she's originally from Quebec, I think it's just like a huge separatist movement. I'm glad that Matt is the only one who is resonating with this.
I
Somehow
understand. I
Honey
understand, like, the
Honey
trend-
is involved in this.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
You
that's
get
what's
free
the funny
unlimited
part.
bread
I
and
think.
honey. It's great.
It's great. It's
Yeah,
a fun
it-
festival.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, Streetsville is kind of its own isolated little community. So I can get why they would want to be why they'd want to be on their own. I lived there for years. I would have been happy, if we were our own city, but whatever. It's fine now. Bread and honey. Lisa, what do you think of Practical Magic? Have you seen this movie before?
I saw it in college because my friend Yolanda is like a big fan of it, and I remember liking it so much in college.
What?
I remember in college, I loved it so much, and then watching it this last few days with Vince, WTF? I feel like I was in the Twilight Zone, and I was like, this is a really not well written movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I'm scared of this movie and have been I was traumatized by this movie when I was 11 because I saw it in theaters, far too young. At least maybe not for all 11-year-olds, but for me at 11, far too young to watch this movie in a theater. Yeah, but my rewatch, I kind of touched on this earlier. I do think it's really disjointed in terms of genre and world building, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me as much as I feel like it should. I think it's decently well crafted. I feel like that's because all of the weird disjointed elements kind of have a through line of like, here's just the two sisters dealing with love or relationships in their own ways, and how do we work in the generational trauma that Miriam touched on, and then how does that manifest? And in this movie, it's manifesting literally through toxic ex-lover who won't go away because, well, in this movie he's a zombie, but I feel like there are real world metaphors and parallels one can make, which I find interesting artistically or in theory, and the idea of moving past that I find is worthwhile. I feel like that's why the disjointed quality of the film doesn't bother me so much, because I think it all has a purpose. I think everything that happens in this movie that's like supernatural, romantic, pseudo crime drama is all working towards the same goal.
Yeah,
I don't know if I like it, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I feel that. I mean, I think what I just noticed a lot this last rewatching is that there are a lot of plot holes to it. Like the rules around their magic felt like there was not a lot of background to it. From what
I think it's because they don't like lay down rules. And I think Matt was asking how this holds up against other witch movies before. And that was one thing that I really liked about this. And I kind of said it before, is that they didn't like spell out the rules. They weren't like, here's the 10 commandments of witches. And you're like, this is rule number 1. And then somebody breaks it. And then this is rule number 2. And you watch somebody break that one. Like, it was more like you kind of learned along with them. Like, they kept talking about how powerful Sandra Bullock's character was, and then you would just see it for yourself. They didn't spell it out to you.
Yeah. I think what the movie does well is the vibes. Like, it captures the witchy vibes, the aesthetic of the 90s really well. Like, when I think of witchy 90s vibes, this is the movie I think about. And like, that's the stronghold on this movie that I think has the grip on all of us 90 nostalgic babies. And so, although I didn't enjoy the scripts, this rewatch, I enjoyed the vibes. I'm here for the vibes.
There you go. It's a good background movie for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
I would like to see if they're making a sequel, and I would like to see how they're planning to do this. They are. It comes out next year.
Same cast.
Because I was telling everyone before you came on that this is a series of 3 books, and this is the second book of the series that they started with instead of starting at the beginning. So I'm very interested to see how they're rounding this out. Like, is it a completely original story? Or are they adapting the 3rd book? Like, what are they doing? Because this does feel like a Frankenstein version of the 2nd book to me. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I don't, if that helps you understand maybe why the script is rough, is because I think that they just harshly adapted 3 books for no reason at all.
I think also we can talk about how it suffers from being a product of the 90s, in that there was probably more story, and they were like, no, we need
we'll
more
just cut that
shots of Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman touching their hair.
Yeah.
We need more sweeping shots of the landscape, and that cuts out how much time of your story.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I also wonder
Wow.
like how much was actually possible, like how much they wanted to do versus how much like they could feasibly do in the 90s.
Yeah. This is also at a time when movies like this probably didn't get greenlit very often. It's
Yeah.
like a movie about women with only women in it for women. So
That's not, yeah, and it's not really for kids. I would not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this is for kids.
So I'm sure they're like, we're going to make no money on this. You better make it 90 minutes and it better not have anything that we don't approve in it. I don't know how the zombie boyfriend got through it, to be honest. So
I think the whole reason it's PG-13, honestly, is just the one punch and then the alcohol use. I feel like that is where a lot of the rating comes
I
in.
would say the necromancy also probably makes it.
I guess, but then you get into questions of morals and virtues, and that's, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's like if you smoke a cigarette, if you drink, if you curse, if you nudity, whatever. I don't know I don't know if that falls on any of those lists. I don't.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I still think
Desecration of a
you would count as
body.
like scary. I feel like it gets the scary vote, which is like more of a gray zone for what moves something from PG to PG-13. But yeah, probably literally it was the things that you mentioned, Jeanette. But then the possession probably reaffirmed.
Possession really does it for me at least. I feel like it like ups the rating a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, oh, I feel like it's almost
like
a religious thing.
No, I mean it's a non-consensual inhabitation of one's body thing.
Yeah.
It's like
and
I won't use the word,
nothing
but
could have
it's like
been
the
more
spirit version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess the more I think about it, the more I think it's a really sort of brilliant metaphor for that relationship or that type of relationship.
I was going to talk about this.
Well, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So she, in the end, becomes possessed by her horrible, abusive ex-lover, and coming from a relationship that was abusive once in my past, that's what it feels like. It feels like you are being possessed and that you are not in control of anything that you do or even how to get away from it. And the idea that she's exercised of him through a bunch of female friendship, and that's what brings it out. That is literally what brought me out of everything. Like, if I hadn't had like a tight knit group of women in my life, like telling me I was basically possessed to get me out of it, I would still be lost within it. So to me, this is like also showing like, yes, it's through witchcraft, but it was also like just the power of like, when you have that many women together, the energy always translates to healing. And that's what happens here. So I think that they were trying to show that in more than one way, because Jillian had literally isolated herself from all of this, from her aunts, from her sisters, from her nieces, and from her community. And what brought her away from this demon, like bringing her back into community with the women in her life. So that's how I take that to mean.
It's such a strong metaphor.
Yeah, and I really did love, even though the possession scene still makes me really uncomfortable, I loved the blood thing, the like hand cut, sisterly moment of connection. And I think the strength of this movie is really those two throughout. I think they have really great chemistry just by merit of being really incredible actors of their own accord, but then they just play off of each other so well, I feel, throughout the entire film. And yeah, I do think there's a definite payoff for all the reasons Miriam just mentioned on top of that. But yeah, how did everyone feel about both Sandra and Nicole in this movie compared to their other work, or just within the sphere of this film? Do you think they were solid performances? Was there anything that you would have changed if you were their director?
Vince and I thought that Sandra Bullock was the beta test for Lorelai Gilmore and Gilmore Girls.
What does that mean?
So if you know Gilmore Girls, that reference will be very clear. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think of like a 90s mom, like a 90s mom. Yeah, that's Lorelai Gilmore. But like this was the beta version, Sandra Bullock, which she did. I mean, she did an okay job. But yeah, you probably know how I feel, Matt, about Nicole Kidman's accent. I'm sorry. She every time she yelled, it sounded either Australian or Southern, and I was like, there was no vocal.
I was so worried that was just me thinking that.
No, every
No.
time she raised her voice, it sounded like Russell Crowe.
I'm like, I was distracted by the pretty factor. Like, she's so pretty in this movie. Like, she's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. No, it's not fine. Like, you could tell this is like really early in her work.
Yeah, well, you know how you can tell it's really early? Her face moves a hell of a lot
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
I mean, she was able to act at all
Yeah.
at this point in time. I feel like she's taken away at least one tool out of her toolbox by nothing. I mean, literally put this performance next to like her most recent, and I'm like, it's a little shocking. That was the most jarring part of this. Was I was like, oh my god, her cheeks and her forehead, like her eyebrows are moving.
It moved.
She's acting with her face.
But I will say their chemistry was amazing. Like, you don't see a lot of really strong women acting like sisters with such strong chemistry on film. I would say I feel like there's always a disconnect, and I wonder if that's like, you know, the thing that Hollywood has power over women, like the whole competition kind of thing, the whole judgment and shame about how you look like as a woman. But I couldn't tell that from these performances. I just saw like a really beautiful friendship, a really beautiful sisterhood. And so I'm glad it was them, because I think it would be a very different movie if it was cast differently, either both or just one. So kudos to them.
Yeah, nicely said. And I think it is interesting. Also, just thinking back to something Miriam pointed out, that it's a very like female-driven film, which is, well, still pretty rare, but especially for when this came out in the 90s. And even just looking at the credits, I mean, it's based on a book written by a woman. It was directed by a man, but the screenplay, I think, well, it was multiple people, but I think the head screenwriter was also a lady. So how did it feel watching it? Did it feel like a movie that was informed by a female voice versus a movie produced and made by men trying to tap into that? Or like, as a non-woman, it's not something I'm as attuned to, but I'm curious to hear the perspective of the ladies on screen.
So sorry, go ahead, Morgan. I had a specific thought about this while I was watching it, and then I'll.
Yeah, so did I. I was gonna say, so when I was finished watching the movie, I really felt like it was like a women empowerment. Like, I felt like empowered. I was like, yeah, like you don't need no man, like whatever, and or like you can do whatever you want because you're just like awesome. Even though I was tragically traumatized after, like, towards the end. And I think that's why I kept watching, because I was like, it went from like just like your normal like rom-com movie to with some magic to all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. But then it came back around and it was like, yeah, everything's fine. And I was like, I'm so lost. I'm so lost. But that was like a big thing that I felt throughout the movie. The movie is that it had like a very strong message. And I also wonder if maybe that's because I think this was before Sandra Bullock had some of her big movies, because Miss Congeniality didn't come out till 2000. So I wonder if she was like a little bit newer to the scene, and maybe that's why. I don't know.
She had been treated like she was really like a Julia Roberts-ish person, where like they had put her in, but not as big as her yet, right? At that point in time, she was like in similar type roles, like Pelican Briefy type movies, you know, like some serious stuff, a little bit of rom-com.
And Speed.
But then she, exactly.
While
like,
you were
really
sleeping.
Serious action stuff. Exactly. And then they let her be funny, and then let her be real dramatic. And then I think this, I mean, I would credit this with getting her into some more eyes as being something else. The thing specifically about it being a women-driven movie that I thought about while I was watching it was, it felt like it was a movie by women for women, edited by men.
Yes.
So Like
How
it
so?
felt like it had male hands on it after it was created.
Mm-hmm.
like you could
If
tell
that
that
makes any sense.
you can tell there was like the female gaze throughout the creation of it, but then
And the
it was
heart of it,
edited
the heart of
under-
it was
the
definitely
heart of it was
yeah.
like a female driven, but like the editing, like there was just so many shots of their bums. Like
Well,
and
yeah, there was just a lot of like real attention paid to like they better
The
look
hair.
glamorous, even when they'd been in
Yeah.
like digging in the dirt and stuff. And I was like, oh, they like took a little like gray eyeshadow and like smudged it on their faces. But again, that's what I mean by like small decisions editing the screenplay and then editing the actual film. I felt like were made.
I think it's
men.
most apparent in this kiss scene when she's in those jean shorts that she's not featured in ever before or ever since. In that, I'm like, what is this? But
Oh, and the scene of her running into town.
that's what I'm talking about. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
this
exactly. So
outfit?
the, the idea, I was like,
or like the editing of when Nicole Kidman comes to the parents meeting, the telephone tree thing, and like
yeah,
and I get like her job there is to support her sister and being a little bit rambunctious, but like the shots of it and how it's edited, I'm like, she's made to look like a skank in like the 90s version of it. I'm like, that's not how I'm interpreting it as a woman watching this in the future. But like I can tell that that's like what they're going.
that was the intention.
Yeah.
Feel.
She comes off very much a hot mess in the entire movie. And I remember watching that and being like, who? It like, and I am not a Nicole Kidman person. Like could not have told you that that's who this was. To be honest,
because she looks so freaking different now.
Yes,
This is
yes,
peak
and
Nicole
that is why-
Kidman, red
that is
hair.
why.
Baby Nicole Kidman.
I don't know, but like same with Sandra Bullock. I feel like this is like nothing compared to how good this does not do a good job of how good of an actress she actually is. And I just wonder if it's because she was so young when this came out, and now that she's like, because now when she plays mother roles, it's more realistic, whereas this it kind of felt like, no, I'm your big sister who's your mom kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, being it's almost a
Because
little
she's an
realistic.
aunt. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and because being in that house and having that support structure from some older women, she might have really morphed into that role a little bit since she's been there with them.
Yeah.
I kind of got that too.
And
I
also,
felt that
an aunt is different than a mom. You know, like I
Were
don't
they-
mother.
I thought
I don't.
they were her kids. Not
Nicole
Sandra
Kidman?
Bullock, yes.
Sandra-
Oh, I thought we
Bullock.
were talking about Nicole Kidman. Sorry. I was
No.
like,
Sandra Bullock. I feel like
Yeah.
this is not her best, like like mom
right.
being
Totally.
a mom.
Yeah, because
Cool.
Hope Floats came after this, and it's sort of like she's grieving in that as well over a man, and it's like a different feeling from her as the mom figure in that, for sure. I got what you mean. But I think Jeanette's right. You have like support of more mother figures in this, so maybe you can default a little more.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can we just talk about the wild move that the older aunts make when they learn about this like necromancy, and then they're just like, peace, not my problem, and then they leave.
Mess.
I'm just like, that's not great community care there, aunties. Like, what? Why are you? I maybe it's for them to teach the Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman a lesson, but I'm just like,
I feel like this is another edited by men thing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it felt to me felt like one of the weakest points of writing in the screen, like in the screenplay, specifically when the daughters like pass on the message, whatever it is, something like clean up your own mess. It felt like the cheapest, easiest way to just get them out of the story.
Yeah.
So that the two sisters could kind of fend for themselves for the reasons that the plot necessitated that. But yeah, it definitely felt lazy. It also sort of lowered the stakes, I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I'd love to know how that was in the book, like how that
Mhm.
actually plays out in the book.
who wrote the book? I need
Alice
to
Hoffman.
Alice Hoffman.
Oh, the great Alice Hoffman.
How do you know Alice Hoffman, Vince?
She's written all sorts of stuff. She wrote the first one and the third one too.
Well done.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vince. Apparently she wrote Aquamarine, which I think there's a movie based on.
Like
with,
the one
Yes,
that
there
the
was
teeny
on the tip
bopper
of my
early
tongue.
2000s movie is
Yeah, the
based
early
on?
2000s mermaid movie. She wrote the book that was based
Oh, no
Yes.
kidding.
on.
That was like every in
That's
my,
gonna color how I feel about practical magic now, and I don't know that I like that.
Now you know.
Wow.
when I grew up, that was like that book was like every or that
Oh my
that
god!
movie was like every kid's.
Wasn't
like,
Emma Roberts in that? Isn't that Emma Roberts?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I forget who, but she didn't play the.
I
lead.
hate that I know that.
Emma
Why
Roberts,
do I know that?
Sarah Paxton, and someone just named JoJo.
Sarah Pack.
JoJo.
Yeah, JoJo the
JoJo,
pop
like
star.
Casey and
Someone
JoJo?
named JoJo.
I don't
Oh,
know.
Not
JoJo
like
the
JoJo,
pop
like
star.
I know,
JoJo,
I'm
like the
joking.
singer, yeah.
Is she JoJo Siwa? No. So
No, oh my God, Matt, we need to educate you on another time.
Yeah.
I don't know who
Wow.
these people are.
Wow, Alice
Wow.
Hoffman is like, she has written a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, evidently the next Practical Magic movie is based on the fourth book in that series.
See,
There's a-
they're chopping it up again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hopefully, you know, more women in the editing room, both in the film side and the writing side.
It is also going to HBO Max, so maybe they'll have a little bit more room
Ooh.
to
Yeah,
do something
yeah.
cool.
You know what?
I want theatrical.
This series deserves like 3 or 4 seasons to really flesh it out.
Yeah.
3
yeah.
books, 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah.
No, it definitely seems like something that would lend itself better to long form, like like a TV show or a miniseries. I feel like I heard recently, or maybe there is a TV show, isn't there? Or maybe there was going to be something involving practical magic and TV crossed my radar within the last few years. Because I just remember thinking, "Oh, I won't watch that because it'll scare me." But
Well, this is very similar to like Practical Magic. I feel like was very similar to Charmed that was on at the same time or
I
around the
love
same.
Charmed.
I think of all these comparisons, that's the most apt one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Charmed can get very, very scary.
Scary.
Oh
And
yeah.
I didn't watch
very
Charm
dark.
because it scared me too.
Oh my God. It's like the
Yeah.
best possessions in that
Yeah.
show.
They're good. They're
Oh,
really good. And talk about fashion. Oh man.
Come on, Rose McGowan.
Obs-
Oh my God, we watched
Obsessed.
Scream and we were like talking about her outfits.
Yes.
Her
Yeah.
outfits in Charmed.
So
Have you
good.
not watched
So good.
Jawbreaker yet? Rose McGowan's
Jawbreaker, too.
outfits
Yeah.
in Jawbreaker are superior to anything
I
you're
need
talking
to
about
watch
right
What
now.
about
They're so
Rose
good.
McGowan's outfit in Once Upon a Time? That was great.
She was
Yes.
in Once Upon a Time.
Anything.
I don't
Yeah.
remember anything she's in,
She was
honestly.
young Barbara Hershey.
And her real life. Rose
Yes.
McGowan. Yes.
She's
100%.
She's
just-
so
that's
badass.
my
Rose McGowan month 2025. Just wait for
Yes.
It'll be dark, but let's do it.
It'll be dark, but it'll be okay. We got each other.
We got you.
I love how we ended up on her, even though we're just talking about
Well,
witches
she-
in general.
I
It's
believe
like,
is also a witch.
oh
so like,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know any
I was-
actors' names, so I'm trying to think of who she plays on Charmed.
Did you see Screamed? Or Screamed?
No.
What?
Scream.
No.
That's the sequel. That should
I don't
That would have been
horror.
this. That should have been this.
I don't do horror. The most horror movie I've ever watched, I think, was this and Saw, and that's
Oh God.
Saw is pretty
That's
hardcore.
really
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Jesus.
wow.
Yeah. You skipped
Well, I
several
only
steps
watched
in
Saw
between.
because my
There's
roommates
some, like,
college
in
were
between.
We're watching.
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
You're gonna watch it, and then I went into my room and closed my door and was like, I'm not watching it.
That's the way to do it.
Saw.
Oh,
That's,
man.
that's a
She plays
hardcore jump.
Paige in Charm.
And don't look under the bed. That is the other most.
That movie
like,
is so good.
adjacent
Isn't that
Disney
that a
scary
Disney-
movie of my
yeah,
life.
that's a Disney like original movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is,
I,
but
Yeah.
it is.
I introduced that
scary.
movie to one of my friends maybe 2 weeks ago. I went over and his kid went to bed, and then we were like, okay, I'm gonna show you Don't Look Under the Bed, and it was great. It was great. Then we
I don't
watched.
know. I thought it was scary as a kid, but
Oh, it's scary. That's why it's great.
oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Even I think it's one of the only Disney Channel original movies that is like of that time that was rated PG-13 because I don't think it's rated PG.
Just for the scare
crazy.
factor.
Yeah, just for the scare factor.
For the scare factor.
Yeah.
I was telling Vince that I would have done a double feature with Practical Magic with The Craft.
That's what
Mhm.
I said.
Yeah, like I mean very different. Like
Oh,
The Craft is
well
like
done,
high
Max.
schoolers,
Oh.
but like very dark vibes for like,
Yeah.
girlhood,
And
sisterhood.
girls learning magic and like coming into witchness, and like there is that element of like the store, like the place that they go to that's like feels
Yeah.
like the house a little bit. It's very like that whole
Yeah,
like
it's great.
Miriam said, like whimsigoth feel.
Whimsigoth. Oh
Yeah, that's what I'm calling the fashion
You know,
in this, because
crescent
it's like,
moons and suns and crushed navy velvet and things like
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I love that, Miriam. Oh my god, I'm gonna use that.
Yes, like maybe not gothic colors necessarily, but the vibe
The
and
feel.
but with some
There's
whimsy. in there.
candelabras and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Ah. Oh, that's so good. I
I've
love
never
that.
seen The Craft. That would have been such a good double.
Oh
feature.
my
think.
god.
Maybe I'll
That
just watch
one will mess your life up. If you're scared of this, Matt,
Will The
you're
Craft
not
scare me?
ready. Yeah.
It's not. No. It's not that bad.
Would it
it's
scare
a little-
Matt?
It will scare Matt.
Jeanette.
Yeah, maybe.
It would scare Matt. Yes.
What would be less scary, Witches of Eastwick or The Craft?
The
I've
Craft.
never seen Witches of Eastwick.
Witches of Eastwick is like, no, it's not scary to me.
No.
I actually have the book right here.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's fun.
I love both. I don't know,
Ooh.
Matt. You
That's
would
not-
have
that
to judge for yourself. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll see
I saw
how.
Witches of Eastwick when I was like 7 or 8, and I was like, "What's happening?"
Well, The Craft is
You
rated
poor
R.
thing. Didn't you watch Return to Oz then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Return to Oz doesn't scare me though, so I might be okay with The Craft because.
If Return to Oz
No,
doesn't scare
Matt,
you, you're gonna
no.
be fine with The Craft.
Yeah, but
Jeanette,
the
this
magic-
scared him again.
It's just
2
some hair
times now.
falling out. It's okay.
The
What?
snakes and bugs and coming
Ew,
into
no,
the
I hate
house.
bugs.
No,
I hate
no,
bugs.
no.
I don't
Please.
like bugs either, and I do fine with it. It's okay.
You, we're talking about Matt. Do I think it would
Yeah.
scare
I like bugs.
Jeanette? No,
Hey,
not at all.
Matt-
but I
Matt-
think Matt couldn't handle it.
Matt made it through Temple of Doom, and that's got a scene
That's
with
a
bugs in
scary
it.
Oh, that's
this
fun
one's
though.
worse.
Yeah.
This one's worse.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Although the CGI isn't great, Matt, so maybe you'll be all right.
Tish.
Pete Ulrich is also in this movie. My goodness.
Yes, he's
Oh, yeah.
also a bad
Mhm.
boyfriend in that one too. He just plays bad boyfriends all in the late 90s.
Yeah. And kind of a bad dad now. So, like, he plays a
Riverdale.
not great dad for Jughead in Riverdale.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh,
knows,
yeah.
he knows his type.
Yeah.
He knows his type.
Hey,
So yeah,
peaks and valleys.
we've thrown out lots of movies from this era that involve witches. So is it just a 90s thing where media was really into like, hey, teenage girls, let's all be witches? Or is that just a through line for like, is that still a thing now? I feel like it was very much in the 90s. It was trending. Why do we
It
think
goes
that?
through fads. I think
Yeah.
it had its
I'm-
fad during the hippie era too.
I'm always drawn to it. Like, the more they could make, the more I would watch. Like, Agatha is my favorite thing that's been on Disney Plus for so long. So,
Yes.
I just
So
don't
good.
know how I feel about
Yeah.
Agatha, but I mean, I am wearing the hoodie with the Maid and Mother Crone, but or not.
I
hoodie.
think girls were eating that ish up. I think we were all playing light as a feather, stiff as a board at sleepovers. I
Yep.
think that we all wanted candles and we put that on paper and stuck stuff in the wax. I think that I did the little cutting of the hand with my friend, and like I had never even seen Practical Magic. That was in some other witch movie that in the 90s. So yeah, I think we were eating it up, and I think there was books in like the preteen section, like witchcraft for girls and stuff like it was, and this was
Mhm.
before Harry Potter, well, around the
Yeah.
same time, but
Yeah.
I think, I mean, like, witch like things have always been around for so long.
Mhm.
And I think it is like it goes through trends, but I think specifically for the 90s, I mean, I like look at what was happening politically in the 90s in terms of, the feminist waves and, Monica Lewinsky and like just like, it was pre Me Too movement. So I think there was a need and a desire for more like just stories about women who were embracing their power and embracing their femininity
There's
And-
also an analogy to be made for the sexual revolution that was going on in the 90s as well, coming out of like the stifled Reagan era. And in the 90s, you had this like explosion of female sexuality. And it was taken two different ways. You know, in the early 2000s, we ended up with a lot of misogynistic film, but we also ended up with more female driven film and sapphic film. And, you know, just a lot of different things come out of this. But I think when women are trying to analogize their sexuality, it usually ends up in a witchcraft analogy.
I think we're primed for another wave of this too. I do think Agatha's going to open the door to more witchcraft movies because of what we're currently going through. So
and
we're
last year
seeing a rebound right now. So all we can do is like reclaim the power this way, you know?
Well, last year we got the Hocus Pocus remake.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting another Hocus Pocus like prequel apparently. So
I think we're like entering a time when there's going to be more witch-like things. It's going to be like the late 2020s. That's where the witches are going to blossom.
Yeah, it'll be like the vampire explosion before it and the zombie one before that.
Wild. Oh,
yes.
I loved that I lived through the zombie trend. That was fun.
Zombies was good.
Yeah.
Vampires was fun too. I'm glad it's over, but it was fun.
Yeah.
We need a werewolf one next. Let's do that again.
Have werewolves ever trended in the way that witches, vampires, and zombies have?
No.
Werewolves? No.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to make out with fur, I don't think.
On Disney, that new the Zombies franchise.
Love it.
Apparently, the past few movies have been more focused on werewolves than the zombies. But
well, if they would just bring True Blood back, we'd get all of it, including fairies.
Yeah.
So.
Actually,
Wednesday's trying. They have a girl werewolf in that one. Enid.
Does she eventually get to wolf out? I didn't.
Yes.
She does. Okay.
Yeah.
Good for her. Good for her. I mean, it didn't seem like she wanted it, but.
And I mean, the girl that
family
plays
pressure, I think.
The girl that plays the head werewolf on Zombies for Disney is killing it on Dancing with the Stars currently. So
Ooh.
Love that.
Oh, okay. I think I know who. I watched Dancing
Chandler
with the Stars last
McKinney,
night
and
for
she's
the first
also
time.
in she's also in the reboot of like Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, I'm here for the werewolf era. Let's see.
Yeah.
Big Wolf on Campus was a popular show.
Oh my God! Stop it! You're the only other human being that's ever known about.
Big Wolf on Campus. Are you kidding me?
Stop it!
Was that on YTV?
It was shot in Toronto. Yeah.
It was on ABC Family, yes, and I knew it was Canadian. Oh my God! I used to VHS record that so I could watch it at home. I was obsessed with that show.
It was like
there was like little goth boy in it, and I had printed out pictures from my computer to put on my wall because nobody knew who he was, so there were no posters. It was oh my God!
Like, I wonder how many of these actors are now teaching acting at like Canadian universities.
One of them actually was in Entourage.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
I discovered.
I can't believe you just said Big Wolf on Campus.
Hell yeah! You know, look, I feel like if they brought it back, that would be the great werewolf resurgence that we're talking about.
Oh,
that
please.
we're anticipating.
That could
Then
be it.
someone's gonna reboot American Werewolf in London, and then like, is one of Lon Chaney's descendants still alive?
Probably.
Lon Chaney Jr. That would be cool.
Otherwise known as the Third.
The third, Lon Chaney the third.
Oh yeah, let's not forget about Teen Wolf.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Werewolves
I
haven't.
would say it came. I think we had a mini werewolf thing during the vampire thing.
Well, just because of Twilight, though, I feel like werewolves have never like vampires.
And
can exist without
True Blood.
werewolves, not
Stop
vice
taking
versa.
away from
Oh yeah.
True Blood?
Twilight gets all the attention.
True Blood was big.
True Blood was good.
Was big. I still haven't seen it. I need to get on that.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Why not? They cover it all. It's not just vampires, so.
But there's also werewolves. Are there invisible people? Invisible men?
Maybe
Yes.
there's
Yeah, there were invisibility. There was Fae. Fae can be
yeah,
invisible,
there's
so,
witches,
yeah.
there was all kinds of stuff.
Is the Mothman in it?
Probably.
Good.
No.
Oh, and
No.
there's a werewolf in Wednesday too. There's like a whole bunch of werewolves in Wednesday. That's her best friend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Still, I think we are due for just a werewolf dedicate. Like they need to move off of the sidelines. They deserve to be in the spotlight. Justice for werewolves. I'm changing my thing to justice for werewolves. Well, anyway, there we go. Anything else we want to say about practical magic before we go to the game? How do you spell
Did you
werewolf?
guys talk about the eyes?
Oh no.
The being two different colors.
Yeah, because,
Oh yeah.
because the first
Forgot
time
about
that man shows up on camera, he has two blue eyes. And
Yes, I know. That's what I thought.
I cannot buy someone like Sandra Bullock talking to a man for how many days over this investigation and not clocking that he has two different eyes color. And then
Yeah.
when they like finally like make out there, she's like, "Oh my god, you have two different eyes." Like I
I
don't buy
know.
that for a second.
Yeah,
Maybe
it was
they
like 2
changed.
days or something.
Don't buy it.
Maybe she changed them.
I don't know. I don't buy it.
Maybe
And
he
I,
was
don't-
looking at her
Oh.
herself.
I didn't
He
understand.
also wasn't attuned to
star
how good he was
power.
at flipping pancakes.
Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't understand the star power.
Wow.
Yeah, so
No, Jeanette, I like your idea because first she changes his eye color, but soon she's gonna take away his free will, and then that's the third book, I bet.
Oh, a third. Okay. Here's a thing that I was confused about. The end of the movie, it's her and him kissing, and they're together. I'm like, isn't that a death wish? Like, aren't we
No,
right
because
back
they
where
broke
we
the
started?
curse. They show the ancestor, and they broke the curse with that big energy burst.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So then,
All
what's
right.
the point of this remake?
It's the fourth
a
book.
sequel.
I don't know. I haven't read that one yet,
It's
so
the
I'm not
fourth
really
book.
sure. Yeah,
Mm.
what happens?
And then
Yeah.
we're gonna skip the third, I guess.
Apparently, Mm.
I will say that her first husband, the one that dies tragically,
Michael. Yeah.
Michael,
Justice
we
for
needed to cast somebody different. He was just some guy. I did
He
not
looks like
buy-
a young Patrick Dempsey, and then I realized it wasn't
Really?
him. Yeah. At first, it looked like a young. I was like, is that?
And he was in several roles like a Patrick Dempsey when he was
Yeah.
in his
Yeah?
prime.
Because this guy was
Yeah.
familiar to me. He looked like a guy.
He was
I'd
like
seen
in West
other
Wing
90s
and
movies.
Sex and the City, and like he played like a Patrick Dempsey type character. I think he was in Grey's Anatomy, dating her at the same time as Patrick Dempsey. So there you go.
Mm.
maybe he was just like the trend. That was a trend.
Yeah, he.
Poor man's Patrick
Mhm.
Dempsey.
Yeah.
I thought he
Maybe
just
that
he was
Patrick
really
Dempsey.
nice, especially compared to like who Nicole Kidman ends up with. It was nice to sort of have an introductory. Here's like a non-problematic, like good husband
A
slash
saccharine sweet guy, and then like we middle out with the police guy. Ooh, he
Yeah.
was a super sweet guy, and then this was
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we need a balance here.
Also, like living in Arizona, I was like, he's from Tucson, but he has a very thick accent. Like no one in Arizona has an accent.
Midwestern accent. He sounded like Heath Ledger from Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, I was like, what's this?
Mumbling.
It felt like What We Do
Yeah.
in the Shadows, Tucson, Arizona. Like
Oh.
what is this accent you're doing? It was part Southern, part not Arizona.
It was more Texas than Arizona.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
what? I
Yeah,
think I
definitely.
didn't realize he was from Arizona until I watched it today, and I watch this movie often, so I'm like, what?
Yeah, she downgraded. I feel first husband seemed better. Like
Well,
yeah,
he died, Matt.
I know.
Yeah.
you create your perfect person, then they end up being a cop. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's the scary thing. Honestly.
Yeah. That actor also, he didn't age great, so I wonder if he'll be in the next one or if he'll have died as well. I don't know. I didn't see his name on the list of people joining the cast.
it would be
so.
so sad if that character died though. After
I
Sandra's
know.
character,
know.
went through that
I
whole
just
movie.
know Hollywood though, and I think that I don't know. I have a
They're not
feeling.
going to recast an ugly person.
No, they can't. They can't. Who's the lady from Top Gun that didn't make it into the sequel?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, they recast her with Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, they can't Kelly.
Yeah, at least they didn't try and pull it like she was the same character. I did appreciate that they.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it was just so misogynistic. Like that was because Jennifer Connelly was a kid when the first Top Gun came out, and like her character's reference is like, oh, you were the kid of the guy.
Yeah.
And so like it's just so like
Well,
a kid in the to date that person later on is so weird to me.
it's so the reference is actually that he had done a flyby with the person's daughter, so she was actually an adult. But I'm like flyby meant something else. It wasn't. It's not a child. So at least there's that. I don't know. What
okay.
She was from. Yeah, I'm like, it was still mean because they definitely recast it because of how that other actress aged, which
she looks fine.
Yeah,
she looks.
Yeah, she's just not Jennifer Connelly, I guess. Who is except her? You know?
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a very weird thing to do, and I have a feeling they're going to do it again. So,
What you mean to the guy from Practical Magic, or like, yeah. But it's Hollywood balancing things out. It has to happen to the guys now.
No, see, misogyny.
I still feel bad. I still feel bad about it.
Misogyny still affects men. Like,
yeah.
Justice for that. Justice for Practical Magic Cop.
Yeah.
All right. So for tonight's game, here we go. ChatGPT helped me out with this one because I really wanted to do before and after again because it was so much fun when we did it for President Week. But it was hard for me to come up with things on my own related to witch movies. So ChatGPT came up with them. So full disclosure, robots helped with our game tonight. Oh, he's gone now. I guess Vince is scared of Chat.
Scared him away.
He loves ChatGPT. He named his ChatGPT person Charlize.
Nice.
Oh.
Does she has a South African accent?
Well, because like we don't, AI is going to develop and become smart, and he just wants to befriend them before they start attacking us.
Oh yeah, I always say
Smart.
please and thank you when talking to ChatGPT. So anyway, ChatGPT came up with like the answers, the before and after combinations. I did write the clues. For those of you who have not played before and after before, I'm going to give you a clue, and you have to come up with basically how two things come together. So I'm trying to think of a good example. Like when we did this for President's Week, I did a Mean Girls quote about George Bush, and the answer was Regina George Bush. Yes.
So it'll be two things that have that word and they meet up in the middle. So like, I don't know, pancakes at a casino would be flapjacks are better.
Or like LeBron Taylor Swift.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. LeBron. Last name's James.
Oh shit! LeBron James
Taylor Swift.
There you go.
There you go.
James Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Find some more examples. So Morgan, another example could be like Keith Urban myth. So you have Keith Urban and Urban together.
Okay.
So yeah,
the
if I were to
clue
be
will
like,
tell you what things you're supposed to put together.
Yeah. So
and are we shouting out or are we writing down?
Just shout it out.
Shouting out.
Shouting out first gets the point. Here we go. All right.
Vince is not here. Is Vince here?
Internet went out.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was scared.
He was scared. That's what it was. All right, here we go. The first clue. Check out this creepy found footage film. A reality TV competition tried something new by putting a bunch of fashion designers in the woods.
Blair Witch Project One Way.
Yes, the Blair Witch Project One Way.
I knew it was Blair Witch, and I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
That was so fast. Wow, I thought these were going to be hard. Okay, next. Aaron Sorkin's newest political drama is about Elphaba being elected as the new president of the United States.
Wicked Witch of the West Wing.
Yes, Wicked Witch of the West Wing.
Oh, like, wait, what?
Well done.
That was so good.
ChatGPT. Good job, Miriam. Next. Did you know there's actually a third Owen sibling? He became a basketball player instead of taking up casting.
Jesse Owens?
No.
That's a baseball. That's a track.
Say it again.
Did you know there's a third Owen sibling? He became a basketball player instead of taking up magic/casting.
I don't know. Owen Wilson. I want Owen Wilson, but
well, the Owens are the girls in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to know basketball for this, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah.
Vince does. Vince, welcome.
Yeah,
Give me the clue. Here we go.
there's a storm, so
Is there really?
power's going in and out.
Hope I don't get it. Okay.
Oh, it's coming.
Vince, did you know there's a third Owen sibling? He became a basketball player instead of taking up casting.
Yo, I didn't even know there was a second Owen sibling until last year.
No, the Owens are in this movie. It's Sandra Bullock.
It's the women. So this is a before and after.
Oh,
That's before and
okay,
after.
okay. Hang on, what? Can you repeat that?
Just hang on, what?
Did you know there's a third Owen sibling? He became a basketball player instead of taking up magic.
Do you have to know basket? Is this a person name of
Yeah,
a
it's a
person in
basketball.
basketball?
It's a basketball.
Yeah.
Someone that's famous enough for even like you and me and everybody here to know?
Probably. I mean, once I tell you, I think everyone will be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't
No?
know.
I don't
Okay.
know anyone with the last name Owens.
We were looking for Practical Magic Johnson.
Oh, I'm trying to think of like Owen.
Now we were stuck on
I was
Owens.
Brothers
this
messed
is-
me up.
Practical
Okay.
Magic Johnson. Next.
All right.
Wait, but Owens wasn't in the name.
No,
yeah,
but
I know.
still.
That's why we
he's-
were all confused.
Yeah,
Oh,
still.
okay.
Yeah. Practical Magic Johnson. Firuza Balk, Nev Campbell, and some of their friends have opened up a brewery.
Say it again.
The craft
The
brewery?
craft
The
brewery?
craft beer?
The craft beer or the craft brewery. I'll give, both of you can get a point. There we go. The craft beer. Next. Did you hear? Whoopi Goldberg is going to be featured in the next Hocus Pocus film, reprising her role as Dolores in this magical and musical crossover.
Oh God.
The Sister
Wait, say-
Act?
Did you hear? Whoopi Goldberg will be featured in the next Hocus Pocus film, reprising her role as Dolores in
The
this.
Sanderson Sister Act.
Yes, the Sanderson Sister Act is
Aw,
correct.
I was so close.
You were. I was hoping you'd get there, but bye, Vince. Okay.
I was
Lost
like,
in the
wait,
storm.
the Sister Act? Like, I'm confused.
Next, little known fact: Nicholas Flamel created this WWE wrestler and hid him somewhere in Hogwarts.
The Sorcerer's.
The Sorcerer Stone Cold Austin.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes. Well, we were looking for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I will give it to you. There we are. Very good. Next,
Why would you put those two together? That makes no sense.
ask ChatGPT because his name is Stone Cold Steve
Yeah.
Austin. Sorcerer
And
Stone.
the Sorcerer's Stone, so the things
Nicholas
meet up.
Flamel made it.
I knew that part. I knew it was Harry Potter, but I was like,
Yeah, Sorcerer
they would have
Stone.
made more
That's-
sense to do Seamus.
Stone Cold. Seamus. What?
Because there's a guy named Seamus in Harry Potter.
Wrestling?
Yeah, and there's a Celtic warrior named Seamus
No.
in WWE.
No. Maybe.
Yes.
I don't know WWE.
That would have been a deep
Oh,
cut.
I know WWE.
This
That's
was
why
all
I was
WW
saying.
Chat GPT.
Nice.
Next. In this gritty horror reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the title character is performing songs like Please, Please, Please and Espresso.
One more time.
In this gritty horror reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the title character is performing songs. like-
Sabrina Carpenter, Teenage Witch.
You're so close.
It's
The
so
teenage-
clear.
Sabrina,
You're so close.
Sabrina Carpenter.
the Teenage Witch.
Yeah, that's the only.
No.
You need to, what's the proper title of the Netflix series?
Oh, The Adventures of Sabrina Carpenter. The adventures.
What kind of adventures?
The mysterious, the terrifying,
The
the
dark.
The Scary Adventures of Sabrina Carpenter, the Teenage Witch.
The Witch Adventures of Sabrina Carpenter.
the chilling adventures of Sabrina.
What's the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Carpenter is right.
That's two I've given away.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You got a point. Oh, Vince got it too. I'll give Vince a point too. In spirit.
Oh my
There we
god.
go. Next. Follow the yellow brick road too far, and you might see someone biting the head off of a bat.
Blizzard of Oz? That's just the title
Follow
of the
the yellow
album.
brick road too far, and you might see somebody biting
The
the
Wizard
head.
of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was on the tip of
I
my
was like, the Blizzard of Oz is just the title of the album.
I don't even know. What is the Blizzard of Oz? Is that
That's
an
an
Ozzy?
Ozzy Osbourne
Oh, that's
album.
fun. Next, this one's for Miriam. Well, all of you, but I have extra high hopes for Miriam. After a long day of wizard battling Merlin, this witch likes to kick back with some bubbly and orange juice.
Madame Mimosa.
Madame Mimosa is correct.
Oh.
What a good cocktail that would be. Disney needs to capitalize on that.
want
Vince
that.
had a good Ozzy one. Ozzy
Oh,
Osbourne.
that's hilarious. Oh, I should have done that. See, Vince, you should be ChatGPT. Okay. Final question of the regular round. I don't have a bonus question, but also, well, we don't need one because we have a winner. But anyway, for fun, here we go. She may have killed Sirius Black and tortured the Longbottoms, but now this witch is ready for her own TV series where she faces off against a Demogorgon and Winona Ryder.
Bellatrix with Stranger Things.
Bellatrix with
Stranger
Things is
Things.
correct.
Man,
Jeanette won.
I was gonna get that one.
Congratulations.
Yay! Lisa, so
I'm still
defeated.
so confused on
I
so
like
many.
I'm not good with before and afters.
I will say I play Wheel of Fortune on my Switch like almost more than any other game, so that might be
That might be
just
that might be
programmed.
Yeah, you. Also, Chris trying to decipher his clues on We Like Theme Parks feels like this. So
I did try to go
That.
blonde here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
you did a much
Bondo
better
needs to start
job because
using
we also have to
ChatGPT.
like. He
Thanks.
should because we're just trying to decipher his brain, which is
Yeah,
harder
Bondo
than
needs to
this.
be using ChatGPT
Yeah.
for
They're
him.
like-
I tried to
They're
make
like
the-
really messed up before and afters that typically he gets mad at that we don't understand where he came from.
But I
Love you,
feel like when we
Chris.
played this with
Love you, mean
Presidents,
it.
Lisa, you got some really hard ones. I can't remember. Like I think you got Benjamin Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was
That was a good one.
I was
Kim
very happy.
Kardashian of Green Gables.
What?
What?
That's what
What?
he said.
Oh, because there's
Yes.
Anne Kardashian.
Oh,
of Green
Kardashian.
Gables.
Oh, that's not. The
That's-
Armenians would be appalled.
No one is a witch. There's no witch theme. It's not a witch anyway. Anyway, there we are, everybody. Anyone have closing thoughts on Practical Magic? Let's do a go around. Give us your closing statement on this film. We'll start with Morgan.
It's scary.
I agree. Both are true.
That's my closing statement.
Nice. That's also mine. Lisa, closing statement on the movie.
We'll watch it for the vibes. Again, we'll watch it for the vibes.
Vibes. Love it. Love it. Jeanette?
Yeah, I'll be rewatching this at least around Halloween, if not other times of the year. I liked it more than I thought I would.
Nice. Miriam?
Yeah, I'm also like gonna work on some spellcraft. Probably this makes it feel like it's possible because they're just like normal people, you know. So why not? If you think I don't blow on a candle every day, like thinking I'm gonna get it to light, you're crazy. I try all the time. No luck yet, but one of these days it's gonna happen. Also, I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop because this soundtrack slaps. It's really good.
Soundtrack.
So.
Yeah.
Good soundtrack. This kiss, this kiss.
I was thinking more like all the Stevie Nicks and the Joni Mitchell of it all.
Not Faith Hill.
No.
But this kiss, it's so good. It's so 90s. All right. Well, thanks everyone. It was a good chat. Happy I finally revisited this movie. Face to the Fear. Maybe one day I'll rewatch it. I am interested to see the sequel. So yeah. But excited for next week because next week we have another double bill. It's Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town.
Yeah.
On Halloween.
Ooh.
So what a good time we'll have then. But until then, it's that time of the night. Tell everyone who you are, what you have going on, and where they can find you. We'll start with Morgan.
You can find me on Instagram at Morgie MorgiEbE 789. And other than that, I occasionally post Disney stuff when I go, and I live in Florida, and I'm a teacher, so I post also a bunch of teaching stuff, and that's about it.
Nice. Thank you, Morgan.
Bye.
All right. Oh.
Ooh.
Hello. Yes. Yeah. So this was fun. I'm really glad that we did this movie. Thanks, Miriam. I've been avoiding this movie and I shouldn't have. Yeah, you can find me here. I'll be here next week for the double feature. You can find me on We Like Theme Parks. New episode tomorrow with our good friend Matthew Yipchuk. Come check it out. Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram at TinkerJ787.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa. You can follow me on Instagram at Lisa_A_Alves and on TikTok at Lisa Alves Creations. I'm currently busy writing away. So maybe you'll see some content about that soon. You'll definitely see content about the theater I watch in Toronto and the books I'm reading. But you'll see me here next week too. So see you then.
See you then.
And I'm Miriam. You can find me on Instagram at the Churro Fund and also on We Like Theme Parks with Jeanette. We do have a new episode tomorrow, and we're drafting Universal villains for a villains league, much like fantasy football. So if you like Universal properties, come check it out. And that's it.
Thank you, Miriam. And this is my channel. If you're watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of the 90s Halloween Movie Marathon. Join us next week, same time, same channel, where we will be discussing Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. And if you're, so inclined and you feel like learning a little bit about Oz in advance of Wicked, check out the Oz and the Wicked content, because let's get the algorithm on my side for those videos. I put a lot of time into them. Anyway, friends, thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you next week. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Tea Cup for One. How do you end this?